The Rayakottai Fort is located in the Denkanikotai Taluk in the Krishnagiri district of Tamil Nadu. It is situated around 32 kilometers from the Krishnagiri town and 80 kilometers from Bangalore. Overall, it is an easy to moderate trek and it takes around 45 minutes to 1 hour to reach to the summit. The roads are good until the trek starting point. This is the point where you start the trek and there are newly constructed steps in the initial stretch. While we trek to the top, a brief note on the history of this fort. The word Rayakottai can be split to Raya and Kottai, meaning Raya's fort. The Raya who built this fort was Jagadevaraya, a 16th century vassal who was ruling under the Vijayanagara dynasty. After Hampi was destroyed in the Battle of Talikota, the Vijayanagara rulers moved to Penukonda in Andhra Pradesh, and this Aravidu dynasty was the last ruling dynasty of the Vijayanagara lineage. Jagadevaraya was the father-in-law of Srirangadevaraya, one of the kings of this Aravidu dynasty ruling from Penukonda. Jagadevaraya ruled over the regions of Hosur, Krishnagiri and Dharmapuri districts of Tamil Nadu. He is said to have built 12 forts for his sons, which later came into the hands of the Nawab of Kadapa. The Nawab of Kadapa later named this region Baramahal. In the 18th century, Hyder Ali captured the Baramahal region and then it passed on to his son Tipu Sultan. The Britishers captured this fort from Tipu Sultan during the Third Anglo-Mysore War and they had it until independence. So how did the fort fall into the hands of the British? In 1791, the Third Anglo-Mysore War was ongoing and Lord Cornwallis captured Bangalore in March 1791. After the conquest of Bangalore, Cornwallis made preparations for the next phase of attack against Tipu Sultan. His strategy was to close the route Tipu Sultan used to take into Tamil Nadu, which was then called Carnatic region. Among the many forts in this route, the Hosur and Rayakottai forts were the most important ones. On July 15, 1791, Lord Cornwallis attacked Hosur and the regiment under Major F. Gowdy captured the fort there. Major Gowdy's regiment was next sent to Rayakottai. Gowdy reached Rayakottai on 17th July 1791. When he reached there, he found that there are two layers of fortification, one at the base of the hill and the second one on the top of the rock. This is the painting of the fort made by Captain Alexander Allen almost 3 years later in 1794. As you can see, there are two layers of fortification, one near the bottom of the hill and the second at the top of the rock formation. The fort at that time had 800 men garrisoned there. Gowdy sends a message to the Killedar or the commandant of the fort asking him to surrender, but he refuses. On 19th July, he blows up the entry gate of the fort and captures the lower part of the fort. In his letter to his senior officer, he says that during this attack, many British sepoys got killed and one Lieutenant Cry also dies. He writes that there were 2 6-pound guns and 4 houses in the lower fort when he captured it. 3 days later, on 22 July 1491, at 12 am, they start firing on the 3 gateways of the fort. Soon after, somewhere between 1 am to 2 am, white flags are held out and the fort is surrendered. Gowdy further writes in his letter, if they had not surrendered, there were 8 more gateways to be broken and 14 more guns with Tipu soldiers. The loss on the British side was 4 people killed and 18 wounded. After about 20 minutes of trekking, you will catch sight of the ramparts of the fort. This is the entry gate. On the arch, it has an engraving of 1797, which means it was built 6 years after the British captured the fort from Tipu. Maybe this was one of the fort entrances blown away by Major Gowdy and later reconstructed. Once you cross this gate, there is a ruined brick structure that seems to be a barrack for soldiers guarding this gate. We can see in an old image that it used to have a tiled roof. Barracks were important for the men inside. At the time of surrender to British, we know that there were 800 plus men inside the fort. Water storage systems within the fort is also important when so many men are inside. In Rayakottai, we see enclosures built close to the slope of the rock to contain water. After trekking another 10 to 15 minutes, you will reach the higher level of the fortification. There are ruins of many structures here. According to the East India Gazetteer, Volume 2 of 1828, the first line of fortification on the rock is within 250 feet of the summit, and the structures here include barracks, magazines, ordnance sheds, and other principal buildings. You can take some time to explore these structures at this level of the fort. The last stretch of climb to the summit is via steps cut on the rock formation. There would have been a flag post at the summit, but now there is a small shrine built there. The view from the top is absolutely wonderful. You can see from an old image of 1858 taken from the peak that not much has changed even after 150 years.